All right. Happy Monday. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Week's off to a good start here. We're going to run it down tonight on the live. As you guys know, we do the Q&A every Monday and Wednesday night. We answer the questions that you guys want to know about. I don't know about you guys. I had a really good weekend. Hopefully, you guys did the same. Got to spend some time with your family, take time away from crypto, the markets, and all the other craziness that goes on, and just step away for a little while and kind of refresh yourself. Need that, can't always be burning the candle at both ends. But we did have our event. If you guys haven't seen that, go check it out on the YouTube channel. We've got Digital Fusion Summit is up in its full entirety. I think we did two versions, one with crowd noise and one without. The second one is a little more robotic. The first two panels, we were having some technical issues. So people did complain about the first couple panels just with the noise, but past those two, it gets much, much better. So if you want to skip those, they are really good panels. The first panel is about how to put your digital assets to work in a professional setting, what that looks like to use them to be able to generate returns, what we're doing at Digital Wealth Partners to provide that for people. And then the second panel was myself and Rustin Deal going over different ways to mitigate taxes on your crypto gains. Then we get into the fraud panel. There's a legal and compliance panel. DeFi meets institutions. And then I think we have one other one as well. So a lot of fantastic speakers. We had XDC, we had DAG, we had Anchorage Digital, many other players from the space there on stage talking about the best ways to do it in a professional setting if you're going to be managing your digital assets and generating returns or mitigating taxes, how to set yourself up for success on the other side of price appreciation, or if you've already made a bunch of money in crypto. We work with families that are already in that position as well. So I'm super excited about that. Our next event will be in Vegas in correlation with XRP Vegas and Bitcoin 2025, middle of the week on the Wednesday for those that are part of the Mastermind group. So if you want to go check that out, if you want to figure out where that is, it's exclusive for members there in the group. You can just go to, here it is at the top, right there, beyondbroke.com, and you can get you a free month there and figure out where everything's at and come join us. If you want to use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, get you a free month there in the group. So that'll be exciting. That's our next event. Super excited about that. Some special guests going to be there in Vegas, which will be, interesting for people. And then we've got events every single night, Tuesday through Saturday. Different dinners and events that we're attending. I've got multiple podcasts I'm doing there in Vegas. So we'll keep you guys up to date with that. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and hop into the questions tonight. Appreciate you guys over here on TikTok. We got X and on YouTube as well. I got my bottle of water in the background here and my handy dandy notebook. We'll pull it to the side. Blues Clues. We got Spinny Brenny. They say, Jake, love the live streams. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here. Or ma'am. Can we purchase personal insurance for XRP? If so, can the insurance cover the token, not the current market value of it? This is a great question. And unfortunately, nothing like this exists. We've talked to all the providers out there, all of which work with Lloyd's of London and a few other carriers to insure our assets. There at Anchorage, they have $100 million worth of crime insurance. It is the token and the potential loss of the token that is insured. But you cannot insure the token itself. Nobody is willing to take that risk because they do not take the premiums in kind. I wish upon a star that there were somebody that was willing to do that. I think once we get liquidity pools on the XRPL and some of these other digital assets become a bit more prominent, you are going to have insurance carriers that are willing to take that risk after they've seen the upside. And underwriting the underlying asset, is just better suited insurance companies, pension funds. Most of them are risk adverse, right? They're going to park their money in mutual funds, treasuries, bonds, things that are more liquid and very low risk, but are going to generate some type of return for them. I think you might see stable coins as, part of what insurance providers use to be able to hedge and generate interest for their treasuries. We were looking at a strategy the other day that's going to pay out hopefully somewhere between 6 and 8% on stable coins. So I think that'll be involved, but currently right now it's just on the value at the time of loss. The claims do take a while, 60 to 90 to 120 days at some points. Once we see, insurance move on chain, provenance, again, we talked about this, hash is the token associated with provenance. If that gets the adoption at scale that I'm hoping that it does, then a lot of these systems and processes for claims and premiums will become much more streamlined. And hopefully, again, at some point, they will insure the token itself and not just the dollar amount on the day of loss. But at this time, unfortunately, that doesn't exist. We can do species insurance. We're getting quotes on that on the physical accounts above the 100 million for our clients. So as soon as we have somebody that's over that 100M at Anchorage with us, we will be able to quote that. But until then, they really don't care. So what is all this stuff about whitelists? So when we had the accounts at standard custody before we moved over to Anchorage, one of the great things about that was you could whitelist a wallet or greenlist a wallet with them. You'd be able to send one transaction and verify it, know that that was going to go to there. And it would be the only wallet address that you could remove the tokens to out of institutional grade custody. So even if somebody did hack it or, something happened, somehow that happened, your assets are only going back to your cold wallet, whichever one was attached, which I think is a great security mechanism. And I'm hoping that Anchorage has in place here in the near future. We've got 5-star painters with the super chat. Thank you so much. They say, saw your interview with celebrity Cerebral Michael S. of Casper. Do you have a price prediction with 2.0 launching tomorrow? Happy crypto Mayo, Jake and the XRP fam. Very cool. It is Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Drinko. Cheers to you guys. Mine is non-alcoholic. I am dieting for Vegas, but cheers anyway. As far as I'm guessing you're asking for price prediction on Casper. Don't know. There are a few applications where Casper is being utilized, but it would be complete speculation on my side if I were to give you any type of price prediction on the token. I can tell you that it is not even close to its all-time high, and that I am bullish on it. However, where does it go to? Higher than where it's at. I think if we get some, even if we just get a rotation into the altcoins, we get an alt season of some kind, an expansion in breadth at the Fed comes out and lowers interest rates tomorrow or Wednesday, I think your potential to see a move higher across the board in all markets is probably pretty good. Excuse me. We've got couple more super chats here. We got Cole. We got KJ first. He says, price prediction for XRP, is it a requirement to be a member of the Mastermind in order to participate in either of the funds that produce returns? No. DWP. So, and maybe I'll just break this down for you guys, because this is a question we get quite frequently. The Mastermind is completely separate of any of the other businesses that we have. We do offer private deals there in the Mastermind and a bunch of education, right? So, the Mastermind is for community, it's for education, it's to be able to stay on top of things, get exposure to not inside information, that's probably not the right word, more stuff that you might not get publicly. And so, it's a really cool culture that's been developed there. A lot of people with aligned interests, people that want to do well. people that, want to have a network of people on the other side of price appreciation that they can lean on, or that they're going through the same things as, people that are a few steps ahead of you in whatever your journey is. You can find that there in the group. And we've got people that, have just got into crypto. We've got other people that have been in crypto for 7-8 years. We have people that have established their entire estate plan and have millions of dollars invested in crypto. And then we've got other people that just started with $1,000 in there, right? So wide variety of people there in the mastermind. And that's the beautiful part of that. But that is completely separate of anything to do with Digital Ascension Group. Digital Ascension Group is a multifamily office that specializes in digital assets. And underneath that, we have an SEC registered RIA. So obviously I participate in the mastermind, and I also own these businesses over here. And, we've built all of that out specific mainly for XRP. However, we can work with people that hold pretty much any digital asset that's in the top 20, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Matic, Chainlink, XRP, XLM, USDC, Tether, all those, BNB maybe in the near future, and anything that's EVM based, Polkadot. There's a lot of them there. Avalanche as well. They're at Anchorage. So the answer is emphatically no. You do not have to be a member of the mastermind in order to participate in the funds. However, people in the mastermind tend to get priority and hear things first before other people when it comes to the products and services that we are, able to provide. So something I discuss on a regular basis there. Again, it's just things that are top of mind for me because we're developing them, and it's cool to get some feedback from the community. Cole says, "Good evening, sir. Can masterclass membership be canceled anytime after purchase? Any exit strategy advice for 10K XRP bag that does not meet your qualifications yet?" Daddy needs that hit. I hope you. So we're month to month. You can cancel your membership at any time. We don't have a long-term contract. I've been a part of a bunch of other groups. Okay. Those other groups were somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 at a minimum to join. I've got a mastermind that I'm a part of right now that's $35,000 for the year. Another one that we did, last year was 10 grand for the year. So, again, I have paid money, more money than I'm comfortable with most of the time, to be in rooms that are, at the beginning, I didn't really feel like I belonged in. Now I feel, a little bit better about it. I feel like I have an expertise that I can actually provide value with. But just, for us, we're offering what we have at $25. And I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be better than any other group you've ever been a part of or probably will be associated with. The amount of, camaraderie and culture that's here in our group versus other groups, second to none. We have insurance for the group, which none of the other groups I've ever been a part of have ever offered. We run private deals here in the group that are exclusive to that group. Again, none of the other communities I've ever been a part of have done that. We provide insights and financial education. I meet with, put on town halls twice a week. In certain levels, we allow access to people on a regular basis. I want to provide as much value as these groups that are, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $35,000 a year for people for significantly less, because not everybody can afford that, and not everybody's willing to take that big leap, right? They may not have the extra money. It's always been worth it though. When I've paid the extra money to be in a group, it's not an immediate return. So I don't want people to get that twisted. There's a delay for sure. It's not like, there are people, if you're in crypto, it's probably the wrong space for you. I mean, maybe it might be the right space for you. Depends on your timing. If you're here for a quick return, if you're here for an immediate benefit, that's probably not the deal. But if you're interested in long-term relationships and developing those with good people and doing business, that's what I'm about. That's how I've always been. I like to play long-term games with long-term people. And so anyway, but we do not require, all of those are like a year-long contract and a bunch of stuff. Like, we're month to month. If at any point you decide that you need to cancel for whatever reason, that's your prerogative. And again, we give you a free month to begin with. So if you try it out and like it, cool. If it's not for you for whatever reason, no harm, no foul. You just cancel at any time. So we've got almost 2,000 people there in the group, which is just mind blowing to me. But that's just a testament to, again, the community and the value that's there in the group. So if you want to try it out, again, you just go to beyondbroke.com, put in the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. And then he goes on to ask about the exit strategy for 10,000 XRP bag that does not meet your qualification yet. I don't know your personal. I don't know what you need. I don't know if you're trying to pay off debts. I don't know if you're trying to start a business. I don't know if you're trying to leave a legacy. I don't know if you're trying to maximize lifestyle. I don't know if you have philanthropic interest. I don't know how many kids you got. I don't know if you're married. There's so much context that I would need and my team would need in order to provide you any type of valuable, quote unquote, advice here, that I can't do it publicly for sure, because I'm not. Nothing here is financial advice. It's only for entertainment and educational purposes only. But aside from that, there's just so much context that's needed around that to give you any meaningful information that I would be doing you a disservice to just spout something off here. And anybody else that puts out a video about this is your exit strategy if you've got this much, stop watching them, because they're not a professional. They don't know how to give financial advice. They might be able to speak to their specific situation. And that's what I do most of the time. Because, again, I can't give you advice. I don't know the context or constraints around your life, but I do know mine, right? And I can give you my vision or aspirations or things that I'm looking to do and how I think through that. If you go to Digital Outlook and talk to Dave over there, Dave and Judy, they will do the same thing. They will provide you frameworks to think about when you're making decisions. And I think that's what a good coach does. And then we do the same thing, but we will tell you, like, we think you should do this based on the math and where you sit in your estate and all of the information that you've given us. We have licensed advisors at an RIA, which is Digital Wealth Partners. They can provide you meaningful advice. So I know it sounds like a cop-out, but or a promotion. But if you do actually want to work with a professional on that, you're more than welcome to go book a consult with the financial advisors at Digital Wealth Partners, and they can actually give you a meaningful conversation and walk you through exactly what they think you should do based on the amount that you have. And you can do that regardless of the amount of XRP that you have. You can still have a consult with them, even if you're not. What did you say here? Does not meet the qualifications yet, and yet is the key word. You're going to see a lot of price appreciation, and at some point in the near future, Cole, I think you're going to be just fine to come work with us. This person says, I just want to earn high yield on my XRP and RLUSD. We haven't paid yet. We will have our first payout for the funds on people's XRP in institutional custody here in another 2 months. July, first week of July, we will have the first payout for our clients. Last month, the performance in the funds was a little less than 1% apiece. So I don't know what your definition of high yield is. We pay returns. It's not a structured yield product. There's no anticipated returns. They could be negative, highly unlikely based on previous track records and all the ways we've mitigated risk. But if we do see the chart go up and to the right here, just as an example, the growth fund in November last year, they had a month where they did 19.28%. They trade futures on XRP. So if we saw a nice big green candle here in May or June, we could see some really good returns in the growth fund for our clients. And that is paid in XRP, just so you guys know. So, if we had another month like that, our clients that were in the fund could be getting a whole nother close to 20% more XRP. Now, it won't be that much because, there's some other constraints around that. They would probably pull it down closer to like 12%. Just because, the margin that they get against the XRP that they're trading and some other stuff would cause and the way that we mitigate risk would make sure that, there's no losses, but the upside's not quite as good. So probably closer to 12 if we had a similar month in November, but that's still 12% more XRP in 1 month. So, I'm hoping that that's what we see here in May and June. Now that we got the futures going live for the CME on the 19th, and we got potentially the ETFs being approved by the 22nd of this month, I think this could be a really good month for those that are in the growth fund and the income fund with Digital Wealth Partners. We got Arderberry. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for the kind words and being here. He said, you got the LLC and joined the Mastermind. Awesome, man. Glad to have you in there and appreciate you, being proactive and setting yourself up for success. Can you please help me understand how XRP and Enbridge are similar and different in their use case and utility? It's a good question. So Enbridge bridges between chains, and well, I think that's the case. And XRP bridges between assets issued on the XRPL that are going to be sourced through the path of least resistance or the cheapest, fastest way to settle a transaction. So Enbridge complements XRP. It would allow assets to be batched or to be interoperable with other stuff, and those transactions to then move through XRP and then be passed back to be settled. So not something that would be in competition, actually very synergistic. But yeah, that's kind of the breakdown between the two. Cold wallet versus quantum. Anybody that tells you anything about quantum financial system, you need to run far away from. So I'm not sure what you're asking there when you say quantum. We've got Dennis. He says, it seems rates will be crashing. China, real estate market collapsing. Doesn't this effectively cause unwind of Japanese carry trade? I need more context as to how. I can try to think through that. So if China were to, their markets were to collapse, or there were to be, I think it would probably have more implications on Tether if there's commercial paper that Tether's holding that's associated with Evergrande or one of those. But the reverse carry trade has more to do with, well, okay, this is a way that it could. If there was a bunch of money that had been borrowed in Japanese yen that had been put to work there in China in their real estate market, and that would all go bust, and they called the debt, those people would default, and then there would be problems for that. But the whole deal is the unwind is them selling off positions to be able to swap back to yen, or swap back to dollars to swap back to yen to repay the loans. So I could definitely be missing something here. There's definitely implications for the real estate market in China collapsing, but they really kind of did this to themselves. So I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but you can only take 10% of your net worth of whatever it is and invest that outside of China if you are a Chinese citizen. So they really handicap you in your ability to remove your investments from the country. And so because of that, you've seen really weird stuff happen. Ghost cities and real estate being built because there's nowhere else for them to put their money to store it and get some appreciation or generate returns on it, because they can't get it out of the country. They can't get it into the U.S. stock market. They can't get it into crypto. They can't get it into gold. They can't get it into other stuff. I mean, I guess they could get it into gold that China produced. But yeah, they've really done this to themselves. They put themselves in a position where it's overinflated, and now it's starting to reel back on itself because the GDP there in the country is starting to regress. Interest rates are up, and so because of that, people that are going to refinance things or draw down debt, the valuation of these properties has reduced. That have been just built for no reason, basically. They've got to demolish them. There's huge write-offs and losses. So, yeah, just very weird circumstances over there in China. But again, if you had free market capitalism, I'm a proponent of that. I like Austrian economics. You'll hear me talk about, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Okay. I would love it to, right? Like, that would be fantastic. However, governments and institutions, they're not going to allow that to happen. And blockchain effectively just makes that even easier to control. And so I do think you're going to see CBDCs in multiple countries. I think you're going to see UBI. But you could effectively recreate free market capitalism with an AI that could analyze all those transactions and then appropriate resources based on discrepancies in the economy, which is why the Soviet Union collapsed. They couldn't appropriate resources effectively because there's no free market. So I think you're going to end up again kind of in the middle of the bell curve. You'll have both. They'll exist together. But I think China's going to come around even more so than they already are. We've got Sona. They say people promote exit strategies for XRP. Do we ideally really need an exit strategy for currency, especially with the state of the dollar? It's not like the dollar's going to go away, and you're still going to have to pay taxes if there are taxes. I want the IRS to go away just as much as everybody else. Okay, just so you know. But right now, you absolutely have to pay your taxes in dollars, and all the other goods are going to be priced in dollars still. Whoever is receiving that payment, they're going to want US dollars unless they want something else. Really interesting comment by Warren Buffett at the end of his speech the other day when he announced that he was going to be retiring. He said that there might be a circumstance in which you'd want to own a bunch of other currencies aside from the US dollar. Pretty interesting. So I'm with you. I don't think you really need an exit strategy. I think that XRP provides the perfect instrument for infinite banking. Very similar to like a whole life insurance policy that's invested in the market where the cash value grows over a period of time without any taxes coming off of the trades inside the insurance policy. And we can marry the two. Like, that's the other cool part. So yeah, I don't really see a circumstance in which, if things play out and XRP gets a tier 1 designation by the BIS, like I think it's going to, probably not a situation where you're going to have to really sell it. And if you do, Trump's talking about potentially no cap gains here on US based, cryptocurrencies. Ripple has continued to stay here in the US the whole time. And I think that was strategically for a reason. So, the dollar isn't going anywhere. The dollar is going to get shored up. Everything's going to be fine. I know everybody's fear and doom and gloom. We've got way more than enough gold. It's not in Fort Knox, okay? But we do have the gold, and we are just fine. And they will shore it up as soon as they need to. And I think we might end up with some XRP on the balance sheet too. We'll see when they go through the audit. We've got Nicole. Hey, ma'am. She says, thank you for your service. You are a legend. Thank you for the kind words. How does your team compare to Caleb and Brown's services? We offer much, 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 much more than Caleb and Brown. And Caleb and Brown does not offer institutional custody, just so you guys are aware. They are going to commingle your assets. You're going to have a destination tag that's associated with your lot number, your account. They'll commingle it in a wallet. You don't have segregated accounts. It's not an FBO account in your name. You are a creditor of Caleb and Brown. If they were to go bankrupt, they would owe it back to you. The way that we have things is, bankruptcy remote segregated FBO accounts that are insured, crime insurance on the assets up to $100 million. Then you also have an advisor. So you do have somebody you can call, which is similar to Caleb and Brown, to execute trades. But we also provide, borrowing against your XRP with our partners that are able to provide you liquidity. Arch Lending is one of our partners. I think they did, almost $1 million in loans today against XRP for our clients. We get the lowest cost on trading. So Caleb and Brown's going to charge you 3.5%, whatever it is. We're 20 basis points. So literally like 5, 15, like 20 times cheaper to do a trade with us versus them. However, we do have fees on a monthly basis, which they do not, right? But that's because we provide insurance and all these additional services, and we have ways to be able to generate returns on your XRP. If you're accredited, then you can participate in the strategies that we have to be able to do that. So not to poo-poo on Caleb and Brown. I like those guys. I've had them on my channel. I've interviewed them. They do a good job over there in Australia, but we are just, I sound arrogant saying this, but we're way better. We have, and I've done this, like I built all this stuff selfishly, right? Like these are all functions and stuff that I wanted for my digital assets. I wanted to make sure that I had the ability to borrow against it and earn returns, irrespective of DeFi and all these other stuff. And I wanted to make sure it was done in a secure way where my wife's on the account, my kid's on the account, like not going to, if God forbid something happens to me, they're taken care of, right? So anyway, hopefully that explains all the other things aside from just an exchange that we can provide. And again, there are some fees associated with that. It's 2% on AUM if it's less than $5 million you're holding with us over the year, and that's prorated monthly. But if we're generating you, like last month, we did almost 1% on people's assets that are in the funds. So, if we generate you 8, 9, 10% on your XRP, probably doing okay. You're probably okay with paying 2% to get 10%. At least I am. So that's how we've structured it. And if that's something you're interested in, Nicole, we would love to work with you. You just go to digitalwealthpartners.net. You can go to the contact us form and fill that out. We got Rads10 Crypto. They say, thanks for what you do. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate everybody that's on the lives and asking all these good questions and taking time out of their evening to hang out with us. I get a lot of fulfillment from this. I really do enjoy it. Sergeant says, my dad loves you. Love him too, man. Hopefully we see you guys in Vegas. We'd love to have, more and more people. Get like 130 people registered for that event. I think the venue can hold close to another 130 people. So we can double the amount of people if that many people in the mastermind want to come out and, meet and mingle there in Vegas. I say, curious, if someone sells some crypto post appreciation, does that trigger capital gains? It absolutely does. Unless, Trump does push some law or an executive order that states that, US based cryptos don't have cap gains. And then in that circumstance, it would not. But as things sit today, these are capital assets. Depending on how long you've held them, you would have short-term or long-term capital gains. Less than a year, it's going to be taxed at, whatever your income rate is. Past a year, if it's a good chunk, it'll be 20%. And again, if you have it in an LLC, you've got it, set up in institutional custody, we'd save you on the cost of that transaction, plus work with you to be able to mitigate the taxes on that transaction. We got Hunter. What's going on, brother? He says, take your take on Buffett stepping down, just old and ready to leave his billions, or sees something coming. Mastermind worth every cent. Love that, man. Thank you so much. Glad to have you there in the group. It could be both. You also had Bill Ackman step down yesterday or today after Buffett taking a step back also. These are big players, big players that have been in positions for decades, right? Now, you did have Munger pass away earlier this year or late last year. So I kind of saw this coming for Buffett. that shareholder meeting was wild. To see that stadium that full, like that's goals, right? Like I would hope that one day I'm on that level. No social media, but that guy's obviously, he's a legend. Like if anybody's a legend, Buffett is a legend. But him stepping down, I do think we're seeing a changing of the guard. You've seen a lot of people change positions over the last 3 years here. We had the Queen pass away. We have the Pope pass away. We've had, over, it was like 1,600 CEOs in 2020 stepped down. Bill Gates stepped away. Bezos is continuing to sell stock. Elon's still pumping and going. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. But a lot of these large money managers have taken a step back. And that may be because they're seeing something happening in the market here. The market dynamics are going to shift wildly as we see AI come in. These algorithms and quant traders right now are already on another level. But once we have quantum computers and AI merge, people won't be able to compete in the market. Like any type of day trader, you're just donezo. Unless you have the same level of expertise that, quantum computer and AI do. Maybe you have those tools, but I don't think those are going to be readily available to the public. So anyway, with that, I think there's just going to be seismic shifts that happen in the market and old ways of looking at things. Like Buffett trades on, value investing. Ben Graham. I don't know if you guys have ever read that literature, but he started trading stocks when he was like 12 or 13 years old. 96% of Buffett's net worth has been amassed after the age of 65. He's 94. So that just tells you about compounding, right? Like if you're able to hold on to your digital assets for 10, 20, 30 years and not sell and leverage them and do other things to be able to produce returns with them, like imagine the compounding on that, right? So anyway, yeah, I think it's probably both. I think he's old and ready to retire, but I also think something on the horizon here. If you guys don't follow Mr. Family Office, I would encourage you to go do that over there on X. Very sharp guy, puts out a lot of good information. He put out Buffett's will the other day, and he talked about what he's leaving to his children. He left each of his children $10 million. And his theme for how he states it is, you want to give your children enough to do anything, but not so much that they don't have to do anything. That's not quite the verbiage, but it's pretty close to that. So you want to be able to empower your children or your beneficiaries or whoever you're leaving your wealth to, so that they do have, the resources to be able to accomplish whatever they're looking to do in their lifetime, but not so much that they don't have to do anything, right? If you gave somebody $100 million, like they can earn 1% a year, and that's $1 million in income. If they're earning 5% a year, that's $5 million. That's way more than enough to like really mess your life up if you don't have it together. So 10 million, it's not enough to retire for most people, especially if you're younger. But it can obviously improve the quality of your life and give you the ability to take some risks that you may have not otherwise taken. We got a couple more super chats here. We got John. He says, we'll be onboarding this month. Heck yeah. Jonathan and Connor are priceless. Dude, my team, like, I cannot express how blessed and grateful I am for the team of people that we have. They work as hard as I do. They're working from the moment they wake up till the moment they go to sleep every single night. I see emails going right now, responding to customers and getting feedback and making sure people are taken care of. So anyway, just again, super blessed, and thank you for letting me know your experience with them. We always want to do better. We always take constructive criticism and feedback. We're not always perfect, but we do our best to make sure people get taken care of. He said, I do not meet the accredited status yet. Yet's the key word. Is there a way to earn yield/return till accredited? We're working on it. We are working on it aggressively. There's a couple different avenues that we've kind of seen for a path forward there. And I'm hoping that, if things progress at the rate that I'm thinking they might, again, this is hopeful, like I have no guarantees here, but I'm hoping for sometime in June, we have that capability for people. We got Wayne. What's up, Wayne? He says, are the XRP ETFs expected to come online May 19th to 21st? And if not, when? If so, do you expect price appreciation before or more after so? Both. So I do anticipate the ETFs potentially going live in the date range that you mentioned there. Traditionally, the CME needs to be in place. You need to have futures to be able to hedge before we see BlackRock or Fidelity or Vanguard come in and file for an ETF. I do anticipate that they will come to the table and file an XRP ETF in the date range that you mentioned there, because again, Grayscale has the date, the hard cutoff of the 22nd for approval or denial by the SEC. And they've resubmitted their S1 after the SEC's already looked at it and reviewed it once. So I anticipate that they will get approved, and if they approve one spot ETF, they're going to approve all the spot ETFs. So May could be a really big month. Again, for those people that are in the growth fund, I think you might be seeing one of those nice big green candles and potentially some really good returns on that XRP if you're participating in that one. So we still have some spots on that, by the way. So if you want to get in June, you do want to get onboarded. And if things pan out the right way, it could actually save you on the fees. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. No guarantees again, but if that's something that interests you, you are accredited and you do have a larger amount of XRP and you would like to participate and get more XRP and potentially cover fees, reach out to Digital Wealth Partners. Go to digitalwealthpartners.net. You can go check it out there. And our team can break that down in detail for you. Again, no guarantees of returns here. Just, potential based on some of the circumstances we're discussing. But yes, we saw a run up in Bitcoin previous to the spot ETFs being listed. So I do anticipate something similar for XRP. I think we've already started to see that back in November, December last year when we started to see the spot ETFs, come out and be applied for. However, if we did see, BlackRock and some of these other players start to aggregate their share in the market, we could absolutely see a price run up all the way through the 19th and 21st of this month and into the listing of those ETFs. Still waiting on the reverse carry trade to unwind, still waiting on breadth to open. I think we get a melt up before we get the melt down. That's still my position. I think gold is going to slam back into the $2,000 range. People are not going to like that I said that, but that's okay. That's where I'm going to be buying it. So anyway, that's, and I don't have a crystal ball, Wayne. These are just my best guesses based on what I'm seeing in the market and my experience. I could be way off. So again, just some guy on the internet. We've got, I'm XRP'd. What's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. They say, hey, Jake, if losses are suffered in the growth or income fund, but are followed by positive returns in the next quarter, is the recapitalization in kind or USD? I appreciate your wisdom. It's in kind. You would get more XRP. We would top it up and make sure that you were made whole. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So number one rule for Digital Wealth Partners is don't lose XRP. Number two rule for Digital Wealth Partners is refer to rule number one. So we've done absolutely everything we can to mitigate risk to the downside on XRP. We've removed all the counterparty risk. So nobody else is holding the XRP. It stays there in institutional custody. And we've done this in a really creative way. When we talk to institutions, Fidelity, Goldman, Citi, and we tell them how we've done this, they all go, wow, that's really well done. And they want to learn more. And we're potentially going to start working with some of them. So we'll see. Talked to JP Morgan just the other day. We've already got this one. It always kicks me up in the chat here. Been going on about 45 minutes. We're going to hang out for about an hour and a half tonight, and then we'll wrap it up. 5-Star Painters says, can you dive into the Bank of England's real-time gross settlement system and Accenture XRP connection and settling 1 trillion their first day live? Thanks, oh captain, my captain. Bank of England's a big deal. Accenture is also a big deal. Santander is a big deal. There's all of these large infrastructure players have been partnered with Ripple for a long time. They've utilized the technology. They've trialed the technology. RTGS, I don't know if they've gone live with that, if they've settled $1 trillion their first day live. If that happened, it's not something I'm aware of. We do have regulation there in the EU and in the UK for digital assets with MiCA. They've also put out their framework for all digital assets here just recently. So I think that they're going to be first to market with regulations, just like they were for stable coins, and the US will probably follow in those footsteps. Later this year, we've got Trump stating that, the stablecoin bill will be passed by August of this year. We're talking to the Digital Council, Digital Chamber, earlier today. They did drop the stablecoin bill over the weekend. They're going back and forth over some revisions there that are changes from the first iteration. And, I'm hopeful that we'll get a vote on that here in the near future with bipartisan approval. Seems like things are lining up for that here in May or June. You've got Fed Now and Fed Wire going live in July. You've got Basel III also coming up in the near future here. Just a lot of things and you got the end of the Ripple case here in the next 60 days or 30 days too. So just a lot of stuff. John over here on TikTok's asked me a question that I feel strongly that I need to answer. He says, your thoughts on Lobster and XLM? XLM and Hyperledger, great. Lobster wallet, probably one of the biggest scams that exist. One of my clients got scammed out of $30 million on Lobster wallet. So, and I know multiple other people that have also been scammed on Lobster wallet. Anybody telling you that you're buying stocks that are going to be listed later on in the quantum financial system on Lobster, scam. Anybody that, you can tell when something's a scam on there, just people don't pay good enough attention. So like, as an example, this gentleman that lost the 30 million, I won't say who it was. They thought they were buying XRP on Lobster wallet, which is not supported, by the way. And when they looked at it, it had $1 trillion total market cap, or $1 trillion total XRP supply. When they tried to remove their XRP, rugged, shut it down. And that's not the only time I've seen that or that's happened. That's just the worst circumstance that's transpired that I'm fully aware of. So I wouldn't touch Lobster with a 10-foot pole. My wife has encouraged me to come out with a video on all the scams in the space. Maybe that's something we'll put together for you guys. But yeah, anybody mentioning quantum financial system, quantum stocks, backing up your XRP on some area, Lobster wallet, all scams. Do not engage. Let's see here. A couple more super chats. We've got Damien. He says, Jake Dog, what's up, man? Would love to hear your perspective on market cap, how it affects XRP future. So I've made multiple videos on this, but the example that I can give you is I meant Jake token. Okay. I meant 1 billion Jake token, and I listed on an exchange, and the first purchase of Jake token is my mom for $1 for 1 Jake token. What's effectively the market cap of Jake token? Let you do the math. $1 billion tokens. It's $1 billion. You got $1 billion market cap. Is there $1 billion worth of value there? No. One person bought 1 Jake token for $1. And I'm simplifying this just to make a point here, but market cap doesn't mean a whole lot of anything in crypto. Okay. In stocks, yeah. And you can value a company based on its earnings. And then you can look at EBITDA, and you can look at the multiple, and you can look at, multiple of times earnings. And you can see if something's overvalued or undervalued using market cap in that context. Doesn't happen here. It's not a good indicator. I think that there's going to be some type of liquidity metric that ends up being used in crypto that describes how liquid or large, important a crypto is. But market cap, people are going to have a really, because here's the other thing. Imagine the internet protocol. These are protocols and networks. They're not companies. Okay. Like Bitcoin alone is larger than like the 3 largest banks in market cap. Okay. Because it's a protocol. It's a global network that people use to move value. It's the first of its kind. And we have all these other ones now, and XRP in particular, if it is adopted at scale, and the reason that they minted 100 billion of them is so that it could be adopted at scale for global use, right? Effectively being somewhere around $10,000 per token at scale, settling derivatives and all the other transactions globally as the backbone or the protocol that settles all the money, is what Ripple stated. So if you had a lesser supply than that, then you couldn't really facilitate that at scale with any reasonable amount. It would have to be millions and millions of dollars per token or billions of dollars per token if you had 21 million tokens, right? And then you'd have to have decimal places all the way down to like Quant, where it's got like 18 decimal places and you could fractionalize it. It just gets egregious. So, or non-functional, really. So XRP has 7 decimal places, which is pretty reasonable. So if you had $1 million XRP, one drop would be $1. So if you got a $10,000 XRP, one drop would be 1 penny. And you can go all the way down to 1/10 of a drop, right? So if you had microtransactions like you do for Coil. But imagine the market cap of that protocol. Imagine, I'll go back to the email protocol. Let's say you sent $1 every single time you sent an email. How much liquidity would have to be in whatever moved that, right? Like how many emails are sent on a daily basis between everybody on the planet? I have no clue, but I probably hundreds of billions, maybe not that much, maybe tens of billions of emails per day would be my guess. And in order to move that, if it was $10 billion moving over the network, you'd have to have enough liquidity for all those transactions and something to settle those between counterparties. And that's effectively what XRP is. It's what it's built to do. So the market cap of that protocol is very, very different than the market cap of a corporation that has earnings. So again, I don't feel like it's an appropriate metric. And again, I pointed out in the beginning how asinine it is to use in this asset class, but everybody, for whatever reason, seems to think that that's something that matters. I don't put any value in market cap. We've got GI Kai. What's up, man? He said, Jake, you're the man. Appreciate the kind words, brother. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, thank you. How likely are we to see ETFs at least some price appreciation in May? I'm starting to go crazy watching this sideways movement. Bro, I was here for like 3 years watching the sideways movement at like 30 to 50 cents. We're at $2. Okay. Like this is awesome in comparison to where we've been the majority of the time that I've been in the asset. And it's nothing in comparison to where we're going. But yeah, with the ETFs and the futures and everything else that's going to go live here in May, I'm anticipating some upward momentum and some price appreciation, unless they kick the can, which they could. You know, you got Franklin Templeton's not going to be till June 17th, and then you've also got the Ripple case. I think is supposed to end on the 15th if they win all 60 days. So maybe they push it into June, but you know, XRP Vegas is at the end of the month. I think Brad and DAI, they talked to, you know, Brad Garlinghouse and everybody. Maybe there's something to May. We got I Am the Key. They say, Jake, my guy, what's going on? They say, what's a good cold wallet, storage wallet, or should I just stay on Coinbase or Robinhood? Decent's what I like. And just full disclosure, we are an affiliate. Okay. I think you get like $5 if you buy one. And there's a link in the description. But I used it. right? Like it is my favorite wallet. And there's reasons behind that. So it has the most breadth of assets that can be held on a cold wallet. It's got XDC on there. So if you want to hold that on there, you can. It uses a biometric to issue the transactions. You get your thumbprint on there. You can add a 25th seed phrase or seed word to make it just a little bit more secure. And the UI is like super nice to look at and use. Ledger is clunky and horrible to use. It's a pain in the ass. Makes it hard to get it off there. If you do want to, trade back and forth off of an exchange or back to your wallet, there's EliPal and Arculus and Trezor, and there's a ton of them out there. That's my favorite. There's lots of good, cold wallets out there, but I do prefer Decent if you're going to get one. We got Wild Bill with 589 super chat. Thanks, brother. He says, does Ripple need to buy Circle to dominate the market? I mean, they put a bid out for 20 billion, man. It's pretty enticing. That's like their whole valuation. So I don't know what they know or how they're able to do that or what they're going to borrow against to be able to get that acquisition done if they did it. There's going to have to be some type of earnout or equity swap or some of the same stuff that they did for Hidden Road, right? I'm sure a portion of it would obviously have to be cash. I think they got 1.5 billion on their balance sheet right now. They haven't sold in the XRP in like 3 months, though. So interesting on that. Well, I wonder why they're holding on to it. They're just re-escrowed it. So do they need to buy Circle? Yeah, you know what? You said to dominate the market, so I'm going to say yes. Do I think it's likely that they will acquire Circle? No. Unless circumstances change, which they absolutely could. But in order to dominate the stablecoin market, I do think that they would need to acquire USDC, and maybe Circle, allows them to do it. We'll see. Jeremy Allaire, your call. I'm calling on you, sir. Let's see here. Fonzie flops. They say, hey, how's he do it? Is it 2, 1, 2? I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched that show. What needs to happen? It's 2 thumbs. There you go. What needs to happen to become a tier 1 asset? The BIS needs to designate XRP a tier 1 asset. It's that simple. It's not quite that simple. It needs to have significant price appreciation and a much more stable value. So if you had fluctuations of 0.0001% or something on a regular basis, it was backed by global transaction volume for being used by SWIFT and the FX market and the back end of the stock market, and the U.S. government endorsed it, and large banks and the IMF came out and endorsed it, or Amazon and all the other people that I think will. All those things would conspire together in order for the BIS to designate it a tier 1 asset. But that is literally how it happens. Is the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, would say, we deem XRP a tier 1 asset. Just like they did gold in 2019. They moved it from a tier 3 asset to a tier 1 asset. And since then, we've seen banks accumulating gold like crazy. And I think you might see banks accumulating XRP like crazy if it got that designation. We got Rob. What's going on, Rob? He says, no question. Just wanted to thank you. By the way, connected with Aaron Grinhouse, dual citizen. Thanks again. Awesome, brother. I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure Aaron was able to help you out and make sure that you were taken care of. He understands tax law in Canada and the U.S. better than anybody else, especially when it comes to digital assets. So if you are Canadian, he is who I would recommend you reach out to, Aaron at grinhouselaw.ca. One more time. What's up, man? He says, thanks for your answer. One more, please. Can you talk a little bit about the potential of quantum computer breach on the XRP consensus protocol, and also potential post-quantum cryptography countermeasures being taken? So we just invested in a corporation called IntroKey, if you guys want to go check it out. That was a deal that we offered to people there in the Mastermind. We participated on their seed round, and they have trained an AI that generates encryption based on solar flares. There's nothing more entropic than a solar flare. And so they have the patents around that. They're already working with KPMG and Deloitte and a lot of the large accounting firms. And whatever the accounting firms tell the investment banks to use, that's what they're going to use. So excited for their traction and what they're doing. We're bringing that to some of the other partners that we have. I mean, Bitcoin's really in trouble. It's a 256-bit encryption. You've got supercomputers that could hack Bitcoin today. They just haven't done it. And there's a reason for that. They're waiting to do that. But when it comes to XRP, I will say this. I've talked to a few people in interesting positions that have mentioned XRP, no other digital assets, like 3-letter agency type people. And they use the term out of this world. What that means, I don't know. You take it as you hear it, you know. Is it breachable? I mean, you'd have to, in order to change the code there, you'd have to be able to hack all the nodes, or at least the UNL validators, and then, you know, verify a transaction or an amendment that was separate of anything that's been proposed, or add something to it. And then it would still have to go the 2-week period before it was implemented on the mainnet, before, you know, without stuff happening. Like the ability for that, for a breach of the network and the governance, highly unlikely. I don't want to say impossible, but pretty much. So I'm not overly concerned about that. David Schwartz is very aware of quantum. So is Arthur Brito, and pretty confident that they've done what they could to make sure that they've mitigated that risk for XRP. Smarter people than me. Especially when it comes to that stuff. We got Honest Aim. What's going on, brother? He said, thanks for all that you do for the little guys. No questions tonight. Just wanted to say again how well we sleep at night with our assets locked away safely in Anchorage custody. Blessings to all. Thank you, brother. Yeah, super excited to work with you and your family. Cool to see everything come together for you guys. And yeah, very blessed. Yeah, so for those that don't know, if you here's kind of the process to set yourself up for success post price appreciation, and especially if you think that's in the near future. I mean, we've got the ETFs, we've got these things coming, right? If you do think there's going to be price appreciation, you want to be in position to be able to take profits or earn interest or borrow against your XRP. You want to set yourself up a corporation. If you've got somewhere north of, you know, $50,000 to $80,000 invested in digital assets, it's probably the time to start looking at that. Especially if you think things are going to appreciate substantially from here, like 100x or 1,000x, probably should go ahead and start thinking about those things. Trusts come into play, you know, north of $750,000 to $1 million in net worth. That's when you should probably start looking at a trust to make sense for the cost associated with it. We do asset protection trusts out of Wyoming. There's a lot of, you know, ways that you can structure that. Trusts are contract law. People will try to sell you on a specific type of trust. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. These are all tools, and you should be able to curate that to your specific situation and be able to add different components of different types of trusts to meet or weave the tapestry that is specific to you. So work with a professional that can do that. If they are trying to shill you just one standard type of trust to defer taxes or like do anything sketchy, I'd be highly skeptical. We can definitely do Cook Islands Trust. We have some of those for our clients now. Clark Cotton over here on TikTok. We can do trusts in Nevis, Portugal, Dubai, Jordan, Canada, Australia, wherever you're looking to get it done, we can set it up for you. He says Belize. I don't know that we have anybody in South America, but I can figure it out. if that's something you're interested in working with us on. I have to be able to bring people, like, here's a client, let's work together type deal. So anyway, once you get those things set up, and you can work with us if you want to set up the LLC with, Digital Ascension Group. You can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io. It's $2,000. We do everything end to end you could possibly want for an LLC, including a virtual office, EIN, articles of organization, certificate of good standing, registered agent to keep it in Wyoming unless you live in Wyoming. Set you up with a template for the operating agreement to make sure that you're situated the right way. Give you a step-by-step process on how to move your assets into the LLC with the least amount of friction. Everybody else is going to tell you some wild stuff to do, and just we make it super simple. And we also give you a video on how to set up a bank account and make sure that you're in position to be able to take profits. So anyway, all that for $2,000 if you use the code 50 OFF DAG, like Digital Ascension Group LLC, and that's at digitalfamilyoffice.io. Go to the services section and the LLC formation part. So you set that up, and then you can work with Digital Wealth Partners. One of the requirements to work with Digital Wealth Partners and hold your assets inside of institutional custody, because Anchorage only works with corporations, it does not work with individuals, is at least 100,000 XRP or $500,000 in current value of your digital assets inside of that corporation. So you need those dollar amounts, and you need the LLC set up, and then you can park your assets there and sleep, with peace of mind, like Denny at night, him and his family, knowing that their assets are safe and protected. So if that's something that interests you, you want to add your spouse as a beneficiary or a signer on the account so they have visibility because they don't know anything about digital assets, like my wife. Happy to work with you guys on that. And again, the code for the LLC is 50 OFF DAG LLC. Get you everything all in for $2,000. Has Mania USA says, hello, Jake. Thanks to you and your team for all that you do. Thank you for being here and asking good questions. He says, remind you to tell people to like and share. Oh, yeah. Please like, subscribe, share if you're getting value from this. I appreciate that. I don't ever remind people to do that. He says, put your tinfoil hat on for this question. How do you follow the fuzzy bear memes? I do. I take everything with a grain of salt, but there's definitely something to Bearable Guy, right? If I were a cryptographer and I wanted to let people know about something that was going to happen years in the future, and I wanted to do it in a way where it couldn't be led back to me, I would create riddles. That makes a lot of sense. You would be, especially, if you found it fun for cryptography or to do that type of stuff, which I think maybe David Schwartz and people at Ripple do. You'd set it up that way, right? And you got to tell the public, can't let people miss out on an opportunity. I would have a hard time if I knew all this stuff and then didn't tell people somehow to try to help them. Just, morally, right? So, I think there's definitely something to it. Obviously, people, have a hard time with that. It's been years, those, when they were on Reddit, it was like 2016 is when I think the bear showed up on Reddit. It's almost a decade ago. We're waiting on a star, right? That's what the thing is right now, is T Corona Borealis. We'll see. If that thing, cracks open and we see the price appreciate, we know it was all true. That's not what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on the reverse carry trade. I'm waiting on all these other things. But if that happens to coincide with it, I'm not gonna balk either. We got Brad. What's up, man? He says, I have a Wyoming LLC. Very good. Would I be able to move my assets into it and be able to work with you guys after appreciation? Yes. Yeah. What? So here's the deal. Depends on what you're using that LLC for. If you're using it to actually transact business and provide services or products, if there's a possibility that you're going to get sued, you might want to segregate that liability away from your assets, right? So that's the whole point of a limited liability corporation. Is somebody sues that corporation, they're only able to go after the assets associated with that corporation. So if you have your digital assets in there, you might lose them, right? So that's a downside. Probably, so again, I don't know what you're using. If it's just a shell company or a disregarded entity that you have there in Wyoming, definitely something you could utilize it for. You just want to, make sure that the NAICS code match the right thing and have your operating agreement state, what type of business you're in. And again, that's all stuff that we provide for people when they work with us. We got Jimmy. He says, what does it mean for the value of Ripple versus BlackRock versus USA if XRP is $1,000? Boom. All of those go up substantially in value. But I think you're going to have a repricing of the dollar. I do think you're going to see a currency reset. But I think the real appreciation, the real ROI on XRP is going to be substantially greater than most people understand. So Ripple could be one of the most valuable companies in the world if they maintain the escrow. I don't think they're going to. I think the U.S. government or BlackRock probably ends up with the escrow. BlackRock is only being outdone by Tether right now, and I don't think that's going to last much longer. So yeah, I think XRP could be well north of 1K, potentially by the end of the year if the perfect storm pans out and things kick off the way that I think. Would be pretty interesting to see the valuations on those corporations and being able to offset the debt here in the U.S. We've got Amani. What's up, man? He says, always good to hear from you, my man. Quick one. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. He says, you say if all goes well, XRP is 1K this year. What would be the approximate flare price needed in order to be able to put up 2.5 times the collateral for FXRP? So from my understanding, that's no longer required. And I'm actually going to be on a podcast with Hugo in the near future. So I will ask him that question specifically. We will run down what it looks like to be able to mint FXRP on that podcast and other tokens as well, including Bitcoin, Algorand, and all the other, Doge and digital assets. They're working to be able to mint F assets for there on the Flare network. But from my understanding, the protocol has changed, and that's no longer a requirement to collateralize in order to be able to mint it. So that was the circumstance a while back, but I don't know that that's going to be the case moving forward. So I don't think the price appreciation is going to be quite as drastic as it would have had to have been, but I do think there's still alpha there in the Flare token because I think institutions are going to be the ones that use that for their DeFi. Wesley, what's up, man? He says, what % chance does XRP go to $1,000 in 2026? You didn't give me much. You just said exactly $1,000 in 2026. I think it'll be more than that in 2026 if everything kind of pans out the way that I think it's going to go. And again, I know this price target sounds wildly crazy to a lot of people. Okay. We talked about dark pools. I put out a video on that the other day. We've talked about all the circumstances in which supply and demand dynamics drive price substantially higher for XRP. We've talked about the reverse carry trade and treasuries and Tether and the back end of the stock market and unrealized losses and all the things that are literally set up ready to go when this thing is ready. What are they waiting on? Maybe they're waiting on a star. Maybe they're waiting on something else. I don't know what it is. But they're waiting on something, and they've stacked the deck for this thing to kick off and go to very high prices when it's time. Personally, I think you have very high percentage chance that it's probably higher than that in 2026. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, just my personal opinion. And I'll just say this again. I don't do this for clicks. That's not what I'm here for. I don't make money off of media. I'm just going to give you my candid opinion. We have real businesses that generate real value and do real business for people. So I can get on here and say what I really think, which is cool. Katie girl. Hey, ma'am. Mickle says no ETFs until summer. Why? Why not May, like you say? I don't know. I need to talk to Mickle about that. We got the CME going live this month on the 19th, and then they could punt. They could punt it till June. There is a possibility on that. they could deny the Grayscale ETF. They have to approve or deny by the 22nd. So if they deny the Grayscale ETF, they're punting. And again, I think they're waiting on something. So I don't know what that's going to be. But after the 19th, I think we have green lights across the board for everything to get going here. And again, maybe there's something I'm not seeing. I'm not the smartest guy in the entire world. I try to be pretty sharp and understand a lot of stuff. But I'll have to ask Mikkel why he thinks, no ETFs. Steve, thank you for the super chat. No question here, but if I see it below, I'll try to get to it. Everybody asking about this, ZBEC. I mean, payroll and distributions and stuff like that, like that's a big use case. I think it's great, but there's not like the only other thing that I've seen that could go 1,000x or 10,000x is hash. And that's why I threw a couple grand at that. Nobody's talking about that when you can't get it. It's in a it reminds me of XDC when it was 300ths of a penny. Is why I put money in it. It's the first thing I bought in 3 years aside from XRP. I don't have much money in it. It's kind of a flyer. It's a lottery ticket. We'll see if it goes or not. I don't know if people are getting kickbacks off ZBEC or what's going on with that, but I can tell you that there's a lot of people talking about it. I don't know. Sure. Is there upside there? There's as much upside in ZBEC as there's in Stronghold and Velo. Okay. Like their niche use cases probably gain some market traction. They'll probably be successful. There's probably upside there. I'm here for life-changing wealth, not a 10x. It's my personal deal. We've got Abrasive Unit. It's an interesting name. They said, think XRP and HBAR will be appreciate simultaneously. No, I do not. I think HBAR could do really well. I think XLM will do really well. But I think XRP will be substantially higher than all of those in a very short period of time. And I will be able to borrow against it and buy those others lower is my thinking. I could be wrong. Maybe they all appreciate together. But there's only one or two HBAR ETFs. And I don't see those getting approved anytime soon. I think the XRP ETFs are next up. And I think that that's going to allow for institutional capital to move in waves, a tsunami into that asset, completely independent of the other assets out there that are really good options and will do really well. I just don't think they're going to be anywhere near as significant in the short term as XRP. And again, that's why I only own XRP, except for the couple grand I put in that other token. But it's up to you, right? Like it's not wrong to diversify. Diversification is a hedge against ignorance. And when I first got into crypto, I owned, 13 different positions, and I went deep on those 13 and I made a bunch of money. So yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. We got MDF. They say, sporting the R3 mug. Is this a cryptic message you're sending everyone? Please explain R3 in this space. So R3, if you go look at their seed round on Crunchbase, you can look it up. It was all the investment banks that invested in them early on. All of their infrastructure, Corda is a private permission blockchain, doesn't have its own token to settle through. The two tokens that it can use to settle through between counterparties that have, siloed ecosystems built out on Corda are XRP and XDC. When we've talked to R3, they mentioned that, they're only going to use something that has regulatory clarity in the US and enough liquidity to be able to settle those transactions. XDC doesn't have that. I know a lot of people are going to tell you the back end of the stock market and all this other stuff. XDC is fantastic for contracts, debt notes, warrants, any paper derivative that has value, for sure, I think ends up on XDC. Real world assets aside from that, like stocks, bonds, carbon credits, currencies, stable coins, that's not where they're headed. I'm sorry to tell you. Now, will they still might settle through XDC in some circumstances where that is the most liquid and cheapest way to settle? Sure, it'll route. But the majority of that's going to flow through XRP at scale. And there was a lawsuit between Ripple and R3 back in 2015 where R3 settled for 1.04 billion XRP. They don't have that full amount anymore, but they definitely have some. So we'll just leave it at that. We already went over that one. And hang out for another 10 minutes here, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. Happy Pisces 320. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you and Canadian there. We've got Wayne again. He says, I'm looking to custody my XRP with Anchorage as soon as possible. LLC is formed. Onboarding is paid. How quick is the process to pull the trigger tomorrow? Do you have XRP in the asset income and appreciation? I don't know what DAA and DAI fund, digital asset growth. We have growth and income. So income's where I stuck my stuff because I want the cash. But I do think that the growth fund is probably going to have a really good May and June. We've got $54 million worth of XRP deployed across the two funds. Last month we generated about 1% of that, so close to $500,000 in returns between the two funds for the LPs, which is pretty cool. Actually, last month we only had 25 million in, so I guess it's been $250,000, pretty close to $250,000 between the two funds. But this month, if we see, another 1%, it'll be closer to $500,000 between the two. It shouldn't take that long at all. The onboarding process is, 2 to 4 days. Pretty simple. Get funding instructions. The only delay right now is one of our partners is sick. So they've been a little slow in getting funding instructions out to people. But if you have any questions or, you get stuck anywhere, please reach out to our team. You just email support@digitalwealthpartners.net, and they will make sure that you get taken care of in a very timely manner, which we went over today on a call. Crazy crafter. So crazy crafter. They say, you talk a lot about people that have larger sums of digital assets. What about the smaller guys that don't have that much? What can we expect? Depends on how long you're going to hold. Imagine if you had bought Bitcoin at $2 and you bought 1,000 of them, back in 2011. Probably doing pretty good today, but we're 14 years later, right? So I don't know what your time horizon is. I don't know when you're going to retire, what liquidity you need. Like there's a lot of circumstances around that, right? So I do think that there's going to be significant appreciation in a very short period of time, and a lot of people are going to come into a large sum of money, irrespective of how much they're holding of some of these digital assets. But you need to know how to manage that, right? You need to have good professionals in your corner that make sure you know what to do to mitigate the risk and taxes associated with those types of returns. So hopefully you got those people in your corner. Even if you're a small guy, I would start aggregating those people now, starting to have those conversations. And again, we talk about all this stuff in the mastermind. We have a lot of people there that have somewhere between $2,000 and $50,000 invested in digital assets. There's a large community of people in a very similar boat to yourself. So I don't know if that's what you consider smaller. We work with people across the board. And I've always been one to, again, I'm relationship driven. We want to work with people over a lifetime. It's not a transaction. I like people. I talk to people. I had meetings from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. today, back to back. And I got to spend some time with my family, go to the gym, and now I'm here with you guys. So anyway, yeah, we want to be able to help everybody. And you're definitely in a good position. You're here at the right time. And I think you're going to do well if you're watching this. I mean, we got 1,100 people watching this. A couple hundred people over here on TikTok, and I'm sure about the same over there on X. So maybe 3,000 people in total, probably less than that, maybe 2,000 people in total watching this right now. If you're in that group, you are in the top 0.00001% of people on the planet. So you're going to do pretty good. Happy Pisces again. Thank you for the super chat. Sorry I missed this earlier. So when XRP goes to $1,000 and we have 2,000 XRP or 2 million equivalent fiat, are we an accredited investor for Anchorage regardless of our income? Yes, you would absolutely be. You would meet the accredited status here in the US. Anything over $1 million in net worth. So it depends on your debts. If you got another couple million in debt, then you would not meet the accredited requirement. But as long as you don't have another couple million in debt to offset those assets, then you would absolutely meet the accredited requirement and could participate in the income strategies that we have. We get another 589. What's up, Paul? He says, "G'day, mate." What's up, man? Even if XRP will have bigger ROI, do you maybe see that other ISOs appreciate faster than XRP? No. I do not see that those will appreciate faster than XRP. If I did, then I would be, diversified. I would have an allocation to all of them. And again, not financial advice. This is my decision. I'm just transparent with you guys about my positions. I'll always be that way. Not trying to talk my book or manipulate or do anything like that. I don't get paid by Ripple. Wish I did. Wish Ripple paid me. If you guys can figure out how to get them to do that, that'd be great. We talk to them frequently. They're definitely not cutting me a check. But it doesn't matter anyway. Like, the retail buying of XRP doesn't, there's so many people at FUD out there. Anyway, back to your question here. There's a lot of other good opportunities out there. 3 of them you mentioned here, I think, are going to have significant ROI and benefit over the long term. None of those are going to be a tier 1 asset. Like, I don't know how to impress upon people the gravity of that designation if it's given to XRP. When it's given to XRP. It'll sit far above and beyond anything else. It'll sit aside gold and U.S. treasuries as far as what banks consider premium collateral. And the ability to borrow against it, the ability to put it to work, the ability to earn returns on it, all the things that we're looking to do with it will be substantially greater. These other assets will have utility. You'll be able to borrow against it. There'll be things you can do, but not to the same extent, in my opinion, as XRP. Again, just one man's opinion. We got Katie. She says, "What is a safe warm storage wallet before my cold storage wallet arrives?" No such thing. It's not what you wanted to hear. All of them have been hacked. Atomic Wallet's been hacked. Exodus Wallet's been hacked. I don't know of a warm storage wallet. You might check out, if it's XRP in particular, you might check out Zaman, XAMAN. Used to be Zum or Sum, however you want to say it. We'd say Win's app. I like that for XRP in particular. You can use that with a Tangent card in your phone. But as far as other digital assets go, probably safer on the exchange than you are on a warm wallet, in my opinion. But just my 2 cents. Hopefully your cold storage wallet shows up soon. If you ordered it, you're doing great. Couple more super chats, then we'll wrap it up tonight. We've got Angus. He says, "Cheers, Jake. Thanks for all you do." Thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here and for the super chat. Hope you and your family are doing well. And you guys have a wonderful evening and week. We got Power Lines XRP. He says, "Super excited for your predictions. I'm 100% all in." Is it possible to explain how we can know what the supply of available XRP is? Thinking about supply shock, is there a way to monitor it? There's an account that's on Twitter that actually monitors the total amount of XRP left on exchanges. Somewhere between 500 million and 1 billion XRP is all that's left for purchase. So people are like, oh, it's 100 billion. Well, there's 50 billion or 42 billion of that locked up in the escrow. You've got other people that are holding large amounts, founders that are holding large amounts, retail that's holding somewhere between 1 and 2 billion, exchanges, that are holding their own repository of XRP, institutions that are holding their own repository of XRP. About $500 million to $1 billion left on exchanges. So somewhere between $1 and $2 billion of current value available for purchase. Don't need much of an inflow on spot ETFs to just eat that whole thing up. Man, love you guys with the super chats. I'm going to try to get all of them. We got Todd. What's up, man? He says, hola! What's up? I'm moving my 401k into DWP IRA. Are there limitations on what can be invested into XRP? Any other tokens on Anchorage? Appreciate you, Max, DWP, and Beyond Broke Mastermind community and culture. Thank you, brother. Thank you for being part of the mastermind and all that you do there to contribute. And I'm super grateful to be working with you in that capacity. Anything that is on their custody side, we can invest in. So XRP, XLM, Matic, Chainlink, Polkadot, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything that's EVM based, Trump token. If you want Trump token, we can get that one. Avalanche is on there too. So a good breadth of assets on there. No XDC, working on that. HBAR working on that. But yeah, happy to work with you to purchase any of those inside your well, it's going to have to be an IRA. It's not going to be your 401k. You have to liquidate and change that to a self-directed IRA to be able to port it over. And you have to have left your employer to be able to do that, just so people are aware. Happy days. They say, did you think a similar situation could occur similar to Plaza Accord to prevent the collapse of the U.S.-Japanese carry trade? Your thesis? I think they're going to let it go. I think they need to in order for Japan to move on. And I think they'll just restabilize their economy with, CBDC there in Japan and XRP. I think all of the, I don't want to say this is all coordinated, but I feel like it is. I think it's going to be a big scare event. I think people are going to not know what's happening. Markets are going to be collapsing, and they're going to turn this deal on and drive the velocity of money and jumpstart the economy, basically. Josh R says, Jake, you're a legend. I don't know about that, man, but thank you for the compliment. So I give my best bud, Jake, a call on this day in 2035, and I'm hanging on a yacht and ask what price of XRP is. What do you say? $250,000 in 2035. Yeah, I think XRP could very reasonably be $250,000 in 2035. Just 10 years. Just hold for 10 years. We already did Todd. We can go through these last couple once again here. I missed this one. I think so. We're going to go ahead and grab it. We got John. He says, Jake, mate. What's up, man? This, that fact, this is sucker is about to launch, buddy. 1 to 2K December this year. My AI is all over. Love your work and your insights. Priceless, buddy. Cheers from down under. Thank you, John. I'm with you. I think that we're going to see some significant price appreciation in the very near future. Then we got Nicole one more time. She says, how do you navigate the FUD all these years? Can we meet your wife? Girl power and crypto. We had a lot of ladies at our event in Dallas. Probably 25% of the room was women, which is really cool. And we have a ton of ladies in the mastermind. So if you want other ladies that understand what's going on in this space, we have a lot of couples there in the group. It can get lonely. You know what I mean? Like if you feel like you're an island, you feel like when you talk to people, they just kind of glaze over and think you're crazy. The community does a lot for that. So if you want to be a part of the mastermind, we would love to have you. And my wife is just recently starting to come around on this. She is not, it's been a battle for a long time, but we've turned the corner, which is awesome. Yeah, I think, just kidding. We got one more super chat before we wrap it up tonight. We got Desert Dave. He says, how many XRP in escrow? I hear between 38 and 42 billion. It's closer to 42 billion in Ripple's escrow. All right. That's going to be it for tonight. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you again for taking your time out on a Monday night and hanging out with me and asking such great questions. Again, if you do want to participate in the mastermind, you're just going to go to beyondbroke.com, and to get a free month there in the group, you can check it out. Again, free of charge. Test it out, see if it's for you. You use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. If you do want institutional grade custody for your digital assets, or a wealth manager, or be able to generate returns or borrow against your XRP or other digital assets, you can reach out to digitalwealthpartners.net. And in order to work with them, you're going to need that LLC put in place. So if you got somewhere north of $50,000 to $80,000 invested in digital assets, you can work with Digital Ascension Group. You can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG get you $2,000 all in for the LLC to make sure that you're set up for success. With that, love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys on the next one.